Okay, so we talked a bit about what is peace. I mean, we've started building that. Like, we understand it a little bit. But let's talk about where peace comes from. How do you access peace? What in what factory, in what region in the cosmos does that stuff get made?
And who is Swedenborg's competition? Like, who else gets into these questions? Where does it come from? I mean,
we are answering questions nobody asked.
That's right.
It's a winning strategy.
It's our specialty.
But if you think about it, of course. What's how do you build the thing that everybody wants?
Yeah.
Let's go. So this is, okay, I'm going to read two quotes. This one is just kind of a cap on what we were just talking about with innocence. This is Heaven and Hell 285. There are two things at the heart of heaven: innocence and peace. We say that they are at the heart because they come straight from the Lord. From innocence comes all the goodness of heaven, and from peace comes all the delight of that goodness.
Huh. Okay.
Heaven and Hell 286. First, we need to say where peace comes from. Yeah, we do need to say that.
Okay.
Okay, and here we go. Let's get technical. Let's load up on a ton of world-changing concepts just right in a row, okay? Divine peace is within the Lord, arising from the oneness of his divine nature and the divine human nature within him.
Such an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
The whole idea, first of all, which is really a foundation stone to what Swedenborg's talking about, that the divine and the human can in any way be connected or be one, that there could be a unity between something that's everything. You know, it's like saying,
that's the divine.
I want to have a relationship between the number line and a half or something. It's like,
and a teacup.
how are you going to build that relationship? And the idea that not only that these two things can be connected, but that it's almost like a nuclear reaction or something, that it creates this everlasting peace, just this fountain, inexhaustible source of peace from that connection. It's just amazing.
And I didn't see that coming. Like, that's where peace comes from? It's the unity between...
Yeah, if I had to guess, that wouldn't have been my top 20 guesses.
I want to say what I think he's talking about, and you tell me if you think that I'm saying what he's talking about.
Okay.
There's two parts to God, or you know, you can say it that way. Like with us, there's the soul and the body. So there's like all the knowledge you've ever had, all the feeling. There's like your consciousness, and then there's your form,
your physical flesh.
With God, there's the divine, which is this infinity of everything, all wisdom, knowledge, power. And then there's the human, which is like Jesus, which is the part of God you could interface with. Yeah. And those two, something about those two things uniting and loving each other, hanging out, that's the ultimate, like, that's where peace starts. Something about how those two things love each other and are there with each other, that's peace.
And I'm also struck by the idea that getting there was not peaceful. The crucifixion wasn't peaceful. Everything Jesus went through, the temptations, all these things. And Swedenborg says there's way more than you just see in the surface of Scripture. A non-peaceful process in order to become peace itself. And when that finally fuses, or whatever you'd call it, I just picture this kind of some transformation takes place, and this peace radiates out from there permanently. That was successful, and that it was the ultimate landing.
I feel frustrated because I'm like, well, I want to do a whole show on this now, but we got to do the show.
Yeah. Okay.
And also I don't know how to give enough background to everyone listening to get that. I think that was Swedenborg's challenge as well. He'd always have to cross-reference. Go read this. Go see this thing.
Go read all this. Then you can understand my next sentence. Yeah.
But because what you're saying is that the Jesus Christ, why did God do that? So according to Swedenborg, Jesus Christ is the God, the infinite God, is like, I'm gonna come down and be a person and hang out with everybody. And he lived this kind of quaint, mysterious or the purpose of his life was mysterious. It didn't seem
Yeah.
to. It didn't seem like. It seemed like you biffed. You whiffed on that. You're miffed on that. And
it wasn't a super long life. His ministry was 3 years.
Yeah.
Died in his early 30s. You know.
And what he didn't do that much.
And when he died, there were still Romans. There was the oppression still existed.
One of his 12 followers betrayed him. The people that he had been there sitting preaching to, they all said, "Now we want Barabbas instead of him." That's what. If you knew beforehand, God is going to come into the world. The world needs a lot of help. What's he going to do? Think about what God's going to do when he gets here, and he does that.
Yeah.
But what Swedenborg is saying is that by those steps that have all this mystery and incredibly resonant meaning on all these levels, one thing that did was unite this human with the divine, and which is the source of peace. One thing that did is, through some physics that we can't understand, made it so made this ultimate peace factory that now is what's given peace to everyone. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah, and there's scriptural support for that in the sense, doesn't it say, of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end?
Yes.
Which is a prophecy in the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, but it's from a Christian perspective is talking about when Jesus is going to come. This is what will happen. That this won't just be peace. This will be increase, everlasting increase. It will keep increasing the amount of peace.
It doesn't seem like he did that, because if you just look at the stories in the Gospels, it's like, well, no, he just got crucified and then never came back.
Or get news or something like that. There's not an excessive stifling amount of peace in the world.
Right, but if actually now there's this uniting that is the thing that creates and sustains heavenly peace, all the peace that's occurred since then and will occur is coming out of that source. Oh, I can see the increase of that. So this was all the first sentence of that quote.
Yeah, good.
So the if you go all the way back up the supply chain, where the place where it's being manufactured is the union of the divine and the human. But then the divine quality of peace in heaven this is the first time people encounter it.
And heaven, by the way, being lower than, full of the divine, but there's the divine is above the heavens. So now we've stepped down. Often Swedenborg does these kind of hierarchical, okay, so you've got what it is in God. Now we come down to heaven. What is it in heaven? And I don't know the answer.
I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you.
I'm dying to find out.
The divine quality of peace in heaven comes from the Lord, arising from his union with heaven's angels. Okay, let's stop there. His union with heaven's angels. So you have the Lord being the full God. So you have the union of the divine and the human, and then you get into heaven, and it's the union of the human, which is the only thing we can unite with, the divine human with the angels. That's the peace of heaven, is that those two things love each other, and they're dwelling together.
And again, it reminds me, isn't there something in John about, so that he says to Jesus says to the Father at some point, so that they may be one, even as we are one. Right? So there's this connection, and then, okay, let's bring, which was the whole point, so that Jesus was, so that God was more accessible. Now we can connect with angels in a new way.
Well, I never thought of that, but that seems to be exactly what that's talking about. So Jesus talking to the Father, according to Swedenborg, there's not two different God people.
No,
this is the human part of God, communicating or communing with the divine part.
With the divine part.
So the whole number line coming down into a place where a human being can understand. So Jesus is saying, let's be one with them like you and I are one. That's exactly what Swedenborg is saying here, which is that there's this unity of the infinity with the access point, and then the unity of the access point with angels is what creates their peace. That's exactly what is that. Did you already know that, or did you just think of that?
No, it just popped into my mind.
Dude. Okay. Then it says, So that arising from his union with heaven's angels, and specifically from the union of goodness and truth within each angel.
Okay.
So now you got a mini version, like you had the divine and the human within God, and then the Lord in heaven, but then within each angel, the goodness and truth, which gets back to that piece we were talking about before, where what is heavenly peace? It's when you have love of what's good in your heart, and you have the knowledge you need to go and act on that. That's where so in heaven, the reason there's peace is because the feelings you have, the feelings for good, the drive to do what's good, unites with the knowing of how to do what's good, and then you go do it. That's where peace is and comes from. It steps down in these layers that reflect each other. I'm telling you. Okay.
Yeah, I can start to see now why he said it's not what you think. You know, that peace is not sort of the cessation of war or being relieved of anxiety. Yeah, that's a little bit more than.
These are the sources of peace. We may therefore conclude that peace in the heavens is the divine nature intimately affecting everything good there with blessedness. So it is the source of all the joy of heaven.
And I guess the implication is, if that's the source of peace, he's talking about even for human beings in this world and after we've died, and so on. It's coming down from these connections higher up.
Well, we were just sitting here talking about how it steps down. You got it on the God level, then it steps down to the God with heaven level, then it steps down to the union of the good and true within each angel. Well, there's a union of heaven with the human race.
Yes.
That mirrors that, and that's where all your good thoughts and your good feelings come from. Well, you're plugged into heaven. That through this, what was I going to say, like Rube Goldberg machine of all these different things. That's where you get your love. That's how you connect to God, is through that. Because again, you can't interface with God as his full power.
Right.
You got to have it tamped down a little bit.
A little bit.
You got to have a voltage adapter.
That's right.
So there's that same thing then happening with, we're part of that. He doesn't mention it here, but we're part of the same chain where the peace of, just like there's peace within God and there's peace within angels in heaven, there's a peace because we're connected to heaven and through that with God. And then there's a peace inside you, which is when you have the same, your love and your truth inside your heart and mind come together to make you do what's right and good. That's where peace comes from.
And you become part of this unseen community of peace, like this whole structure of peace.
You, at that point, literally, the spiritual part of you is hanging out with angels in heaven. Yeah. And you are connected to the peace that they get from God. So as a source of all joy in heaven, he could go on to say, it's the source of real joy in the world too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And probably other things like creativity and playfulness, as we were talking about before. And yeah.
Because you're on
good qualities, all kinds of good qualities.
You're on team heaven at that point. Anybody anywhere who is enjoying trying to do what's right to make things better for the human race, everyone's on the same team. That's the state of heaven. So you're doing the same thing that the angels are trying to do, and that's the same thing God is trying to do. When he wakes up and checks his notifications, as what am I doing? He knows that the agenda for today, if I look on my calendar,
same as yesterday.
Right. I remember. Now it's all coming back to me now. Yeah. Bring the whole human race into happiness.
Yeah.
By whatever means we possibly can.
By whatever means possible.
So if I'm doing a mini tiny version of that, and it's not really coming from me, it's coming from God through me.
Yes, right.
In spite of my own efforts to wreck it by bringing selfishness and materialism into it. If I'm on that same path, then I'm on team heaven, and I'm in a little state of heaven there.
Yeah.
So the peace is like, I'm with the program. I got with the heavenly program.
I'm in the right place. I'm hooked up.